a Muslim with a woo-woo Christian in a biracial marriage. They are gym owners with tips on wellness, mindset, creating inner peace, and happiness despite differences. You're listening to the Clem and Alfred Unequally Yoked podcast. Hey everybody, it's Clem
and Alfred.
We are Clem and Alfred
with Unequally Yoked
podcasts and IGTV videos, but we would really appreciate you listening to the podcast.
Just listening.
We've got a great topic today. We're talking about
when do you know when it's time to quit?
Yep, calling it quits.
Calling it quits. When do you know when it's time to quit?
Wave the white flag.
This kind of came up over the weekend when we found out that Seattle Cookie Counter will be going out of business. They had actually 2 locations.
One was like super brief. I don't even know if it was a month.
Yeah.
In Capitol Hill.
In and out. And then the other location just made the announcement that they would be going out of business. I guess the
Green
owner.
Lake. Yeah.
The owner had they had lost one of their bakers and had became sick. She had to close the doors for 4 days, and then when she came back, she made that announcement that they would be closing.
That's hard.
And then we also have another.
Wait, what do they do? Seattle Cookie. They have. Why did we go there?
Well, you went for the Pop-Tarts.
Oh yeah.
I went for the gluten-free brownies.
And when the first time we went there, you had an ice cream with gluten-free cookies.
Oh,
remember that first time?
So good.
And I'm like, why are we going there for ice cream? I love Frankie and Joe's. But
and we'll go to Frankie and Joe's afterwards.
Oh my gosh, they had a really great lavender ice cream, and they poured matcha green tea, like real ceremonial green matcha tea on top. So it's an avocado, if you're familiar with Italian ice cream with poured over coffee on it. But this one's green tea, green matcha tea with lavender ice cream. And then I really love their Pop-Tarts.
Right. Now you would think a vegan restaurant in Seattle or a vegan bakery
would just live forever.
Would live forever. But it's not always as easy as
not easy.
Some of the owners make it look. So we had the Lava Donuts?
Yeah, Lava Donuts also. They didn't close. They're just not operating right now.
Yeah, but they had I think something happened with one of the bakers there as well. And then they had a baby. And they decided to go
I think they baked everything themselves.
Oh my goodness.
And they did everything by themselves except for set up. They had hired people to set up at the farmers markets and deliver. But I think all of the work of marketing, baking, running the books was all on them.
Right.
Yeah, that gets really heavy. When you put everything on one person, it gets heavy. What about the gym that just closed?
There was a gym down the road. That had just been absorbed by a bigger gym, and we actually acquired a really good trainer.
Oh yeah.
From there, but they, from what I heard, they had a really good, or it was not difficult for them to get people in, but it was hard for them to keep people inside the
retention,
the doors. So they had actually decided that it was time to go ahead and sell and be absorbed, and we have a couple pieces of their equipment.
They're absorbed by another company, one of our old managers from 24 Fitness.
Right. So
strategy
and that's what they do, absorb the competition so that
so they don't have competition.
Right. And they take your dues base and your clients, and that's how they build theirs.
All right, so we're going to talk about how do you know when it's time to call it quits. We're talking business right now, but there's other areas of fitness and life and relationships, not just business or job, but how do you know it's time to call it quits? After these
messages. All right, we're back, folks. So how do you know when it's time to call it quits?
Oh, that's a hard one.
It is.
Because I have many times have thought, I'm quitting, and I'm not a quitter. Like, I will binge watch Netflix until, because I always tell myself.
I wake up at 6 in the morning to episode 8. It's like, you're still going?
These are hour-long episodes, darn it. But I'm not a quitter, and I've always said that since I was a young person. I'm not a quitter. But I don't think that's always healthy also.
No, sometimes you gotta know when you gotta cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah, or...
Yeah, we used to call it killing the cancer. If you got cancer, you gotta cut it. You gotta cut it before it infects the whole body. But we were just talking, and I totally agree with this. When you lose your creativity,
oh, man.
That's when, if you're not being creative anymore, innovative,
lose your vision.
Yeah, it's tough, and you can get swamped. There's so much that goes into a business. I mean, we show up to the cookie counter, Seattle cookie counter. We get the Pop-Tarts when they're in. We'll get I'll get my tea and ice cream and the brownie. That's normally that one.
Gluten free. Hey, there's still sugar in these things, but
there's times of the year when we do have a little bit of this and that.
I have more times of the year than
we don't see how hard it is behind the doors, right?
We don't.
You got to do your taxes and the day-to-day accounting.
Yeah, because you have to balance the books every night when you have a cash register.
Your advertising, how are you going to bring people in the door? You need to be innovative. You can't continue to do the same thing over and over because you actually get behind.
Yeah, and people's eyes wander, their minds wander, so the next thing comes out, they're off to the next. So you do have to stay innovative. I do like that they have rotating monthly flavors for ice cream, so that did keep it fresh, and you're like, oh, I want to go there and see what they have this month. So that was a good thing.
I love that about Frankie and Joe's.
They do that too.
Yeah, then.
But you know, I know from experience, both in marriage and at the gym, is I'm not as good at this on relationships. But I will admit and be humble in this, that I've discovered that you can't base quitting on one thing, like losing vision or losing hope or losing creativity. You can get that back. So I can't base it all on, oh, I have no more vision or hope or creativity, because I've stuck it out with both my business and my marriage so many times. In relationships, I'm a little bit more like, if you're not family, and I'm gonna give up a lot easier. I mean, sorry to say, but you know, I've been hurt so many times by just friends, and then I'm like, that's it, boo, bye, bye, Felicia, and then I'm out. But with family, it's so crazy. Me and my sister will fight, or me and my mom will fight, because we're family. We always come back together, and it's like it never happened. So
yeah, but if you're not family,
I'm a little
and your
bit
energy
bitter.
doesn't match up.
And not to say it doesn't match up right now, like later.
And if it catches up later, then we can.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, so that's another thing. If it's an unhealthy environment, emotionally, physically, you know, there's no justice. It's uneven in the output or the receiving or the giving. It's another thing to look at. So I think it's a compilation of all the things. And it really, you should do a Benjamin Franklin on this when you make a decision. It's a huge decision to give up and quit. In fitness too, with your body. When you say
Benjamin Franklin, what do you mean by Benjamin? Most of them people don't know.
Oh yeah, okay. Benjamin Franklin is, you take a big, long, legal yellow pad, the long one, because it's going to be a long list.
Yep.
The long legal pad, yellow with the blue lines going across, and you cut that paper down the middle. Draw a line down the middle, and you got your pros on one side and your cons on the other side. And if that con list is so long, which it can be long.
It can be. But you'll be able to observe and see if am I just in my funk right now, or are these real cons?
That's a good point, because once it's written out, you can tell, you can be more clear about, is this funk? Are these excuses?
Right.
Because sometimes we say all kinds of excuses, and they seem so real. Like, this is logistically, like logically, this is a done deal because of all the excuses we made. But then sometimes when you say it out loud or read it on paper, you're like, oh, that doesn't sound as...
Really not that bad.
It's not that bad. And they're like, well, people have it worse than me. And sometimes...
Yeah, I just got a little water in the basement. Some people have a whole 2 feet.
Yeah, okay. So Alfred's in Seattle at our rental property, digging ditches.
Digging ditches.
He's
French drains.
He is slaving away with with his shovel. How like
Man.
5 feet? Is it 2 feet?
It's like 4.5 feet deep.
Yeah.
4.5 feet deep, 2 foot wide.
I know this sounds easy.
130 foot trenches.
Yeah. This
Have to be at
sounds.
the
You're
right
like,
angle.
oh, you're just digging, but. I remember digging in the backyard for our peonies, and I was like, I wanted this perfect garden with no weeds and no rocks, so the roots can just grow freely and be nourished. And just digging in our backyard was like, holy crap, this is hard-ish.
It was a week of digging.
Because it's, you dig, and when you dig from the top surface, you're like, oh yeah, I can totally do that. This is everybody.
Yeah,
This is just like life. You look at it, you're all hopeful, and you've got these bright eyes, and you're smiling. You're like, oh my gosh, this is totally doable. I can see my beautiful peonies flourishing here. And you start digging, and there's huge boulders under there, and there's big rocks, and the dirt is clay, and it's like, holy crap, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, it goes from super rocky, knocking your back out, and then you hit clay where it gets real mushy and your boots get stuck in the mud and you come home dirty. You wash your clothes and now there's dirt all in the dryer and your wife looks
Back
at
hurts,
you
your knees hurt, your neck hurts, shoulders hurt.
and then you see the light at the end of the tunnel.
And then you're like, oh, I'm glad I stuck it out.
Yeah, because I saved 10 grand.
Okay, so that should be another episode. When do you know not to give up? But today we're talking about when do you know it's time to quit. And the first thing we talked about is losing your vision, losing your hope, and losing creativity. Creativity is underrated. People think I'm not creative. They automatically say I'm not creative, so then they don't put in the effort into being creative. But if you're not creative in business, if you're not creative in your relationships, if you're not creative in your marriage, you put it all on the other person, and that other person feels very undervalued. Like you don't have enough value for the other person to like want to do something out of the norm and creative and keep the spark alive, and you just put it all on the other person and go, what do you want to do? What do you want to see? Oh, like every day's the same.
I don't care. I'll do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, you're talking about the years of my life here right now. or I don't know, I've done everything I can and it doesn't work. Alfred said that many, many times. And it's like, here's one thing about creativity is you might only know, let's say with us, we only know what we've been taught from our parents. And maybe they didn't have the most affectionate or loving or creative kind of marriages. They, back just generation before us and generations before them it's more like a business deal. You stayed together because you got work done, and it was more like a partnership of contractual agreement that you do this, I do this, but there's no emotional attachment or connection. And so they didn't
sleep in separate rooms.
Yeah, and you don't have to be creative about that because you just get your work done, your part done. You take care of the kids, you cook, you clean, you do the lawn, and you do the garbage, and I make the money, and that's how relationships work. But then you lose the emotional piece, which nobody's motivated by. We're in day and age now, like, I don't care if you make the money, I'll just go make my own. Or, if I don't feel fulfilled and satisfied and invigorated or energized or excited about this marriage, why even stay? So that's...
Go find excitement somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's plenty of excitement
I can get it
out
for
there.
myself.
Look at Instagram.
Right. So that's another one too, is the joy, excitement, the energy. the hope, the the twinkle in your eye. If you're both, I think if there's even a little bit of hope, if one person still has the hope and it's even just 5% left in the whole marriage, they're still there, because God can do something with a little bit, with even as tiny as a mustard seed. Something big can grow from it, and we've proved that over and over again. And a lot of times it's me planting, and then Alfred grows into it, like this podcast.
And my hair.
And well, that was your idea. That wasn't my idea. But you can take a tiny idea, and it doesn't have to be big. I think men tend to get a little bit more lax about the creativity. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? I don't know. I just want to watch TV. And then now I'm like, I'll just watch TV too.
Well, I planned a post-Valentine's Day thing like a month and a half ago.
Oh, Alfred
So
is
we're actually
better.
doing Valentine's on February 15th.
I don't
And
care.
then on the 14th, so she don't feel all surprised.
Oh no, I'm not into dates. Like some people are really
No, this
into
is
dates.
it's going to be a good date.
I mean, like you have to do it on the day. Like my
the
sister's
15th
really
is
into
Saturday.
the day.
It's Saturday, so it's
Yeah.
a Saturday evening deal that we'll go do.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I gotta
gonna
you
be
gotta
fun.
keep it fresh and
Meet new
creative.
people.
Oh yeah, meeting new people.
So hope, you gotta have it.
Yeah.
You gotta have, if you lose the hope and that creativity, you're no longer being innovative.
Oh, you gotta be innovative.
Yeah, you gotta.
Because business without innovation, if you don't change those ice cream flavors, I'm not driving all the way to Seattle every single month.
If you just get the same old red roses every time, your wife gonna tell you, okay, can you get something else?
Or,
brother?
if
Farmers
you
market got beautiful bouquets.
say the same thing every day,
Every day.
So is
That's
it
called
healthy?
monotony.
Yeah, monotony. And you can break out of monotony too. You just have to have enough motivation, inspiration, and hope to break out of monotony. And so nothing's all lost, because what I learned yesterday is there's an infinite possibility of negative emotions. There's also infinite possibility of positive emotions. So you might say, I'm losing hope, I'm losing vision, I'm losing innovation. You can go somewhere if you really want to. But see, that's the key, is you really have to want to. And get new ideas, get new innovation. Go to another married couple who's doing really great and see where they're making reservations, or what kind of activities they're doing, or what kind of language they're using to uplift and encourage one another. Find out what people like, what your partner likes, what your customers like. Find out, for me, I'm a love language of words. And so Alfred's sending me a note and saying, you've done a phenomenal job with your business when other people go out of business. And I'm like,
She read that.
I'm not that was meaningful to me.
Yeah.
I've actually kept all of Alfred's love notes, which I think is 3 in 21 years. So I have all 3 of them, and now an Instagram message. I have them in a folder. It's in over there. So
All 3 of them.
So all 3 of them. I don't.
Never too late to start.
Never too late to start. Exactly.
I have hope.
Just like business, you never know.
I shall get creative in the 21st year of my marriage.
So creativity.
Let me go back just a little bit. So when you're on that low frequency, how is your creativity?
There is no creativity, because
exactly.
the creator, the almighty creator, that's high frequency. That's in the one, that's where we're in the unified field with the creator. So when you're lower level frequency, and the slow, low level frequency, when you're at the top, you're like high, fast frequency, speed of light, that type of thing, speed of sound, speed of light, and you're creative because we're one with the creator. So if you're at the bottom of the frequency and you're like, no ideas, no creation, you gotta spark. We gotta leave all the tips for how not to quit on another video. But people quit on their fitness programs, and
every day. Especially right around now, middle of February is usually when all those
Yeah.
goals go out the window.
So you gotta look at, like, is this, so we'll just give you quick tips on knowing when to quit. Do the Benjamin Franklin, do all, list it out, all your excuses, all the reasons why you can't, all the reasons why you don't. Is it unhealthy physically, mentally, emotionally? You lose creativity, you lose vision, you lose hope. Also, is it right timing? Maybe it's not the right season. That, like with the Lava Donuts, they're not making donuts because they just have a newborn and they're doing all the baking. That doesn't make sense. So it's just not the right season. For the gym that went out of business, maybe they make more money if they sold. So you have to also look at financially.
Right.
Did it make more sense to, long term? Was it a better financial gain to do it that way? What are your tips? Other tips? Oh, no more learning and growing. If you're not learning, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you are dying. Because everything alive on earth that is growing is living.
And sometimes we get so busy that we forget to do our personal growth.
Yeah, gotta get a coach.
We don't want to meditate. We don't want to pray.
And you don't want to, and if you don't have, doing the inner work or getting coached, you will get to that point where, like, well, I've done everything I can and nothing works. And it's because you don't have any new ideas. And you don't have any new ideas because you're only talking to yourself. And yourself is just going to give you the same ideas you've always had, and you're going to keep doing those same ideas thinking they're going to work, but they haven't in 20 years, so you don't think that they're going to work now 20 more years.
Yeah, so check with your support team.
Yeah.
Get some good people in your corner. If you don't have any, message us.
All right, okay, so quit if you have no learning and growing. So I think, again, it goes back to, is it not, you don't quit off of one thing. It has to be a compilation of everything. So we've proven that. We've wanted to quit so many times. I walked away from the gym for 1.5 years, and that was basically me quitting. I needed to take, and I thought I was going to be done forever. And maybe we should discuss that in the next video, but I thought I was going to be done forever, ever. And I was like, Alfred, just sell it. I'm, in this bitterness and this anger and this feeling betrayed from doing business in the manner we were doing it. I was doing a lot of the business back work by myself. And then when I stepped away, I was like relieved. I was sad. Of course, when you quit something or you break up, you're gonna be sad. It's not gonna be, but it was just not a healthy environment for me to be in, not emotionally, physically, not taking care of myself anymore. I had a panic attack, an anxiety attack with all the stress and gossip and betrayal and just so much stuff, drama, that I'm like, I had to step away. And we had a really great business. And then
I did my best to keep it up.
Yeah.
It didn't work out very well.
No, because, it's not just going to work, clocking in. And that's the same with marriage. You don't just go to your marriage, go to work, clock in, and say, I was here, right? If I wanted to leave, I'd be gone. I heard that many times. But if you're just showing up and not contributing, not adding positive emotion, not adding joy, not adding creativity and innovation to your marriage or your business, then clocking in, clocking out is just very uninspirational. You're gonna lose it. So if you're not wanting to, then that's fine. But if you have a glimmer of hope, so when you do this Benjamin Franklin, test where you put the pros and cons, and if you have 1 or 2 pros, you still need to explore it.
Yeah.
Because that means there's some hope.
There's some hope.
But if there's absolutely no pros, none,
then it might be time to step away.
It might be time to step away.
Get some counsel and see, is this the time? I always like to get counsel. I don't want to, that's a big decision to just make on your own. If you had a couple people and you sat down and said, hey, this is Benjamin Franklin myself, and this is what's going on. What do you see here? What would you do? And they have to be reputable, business-minded people.
Or reputable married people, if you're talking about relationships.
Somebody who's been married, been through the fire, been married 25, 30 years, and they love each other.
Yeah, if on the pro side and you still have love for your business, you still have love for your partner, that's enough of a mustard seed. God will create a huge thing from a mustard seed if you just even have a little glimmer of hope, even 5% of hope. And
what if you just needed to downsize a little bit?
Yeah,
for the time being.
Change, but that's on another episode.
That is, because it's, but
we're just telling you how to know when to quit. How to know when to quit. Well, you had to quit 24 Fitness.
I had to.
He had to.
Because they owned me.
All right, that is our show for the week. Please do share. Please do like. We appreciate you listening to the podcast, but we really would love to send this message out further. And if you want to support this show and contribute so that we can keep going, you can donate through Anchor FM and contribute to the financial of the show.
Every penny counts.
Every penny counts. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Take care.